aren't we supposed to be learning to create a society that better incorporates and includes people with disabilities or different abilities?
Right.
Rather than trying to, quote, correct their problem or, quote, make them normal.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is the captain. Captain Christopher Pike. Spock here. This is the captain. Our intentions are peaceful. This is the captain. My name is Christopher Pike.
Sir?
What are we running here? A cadet ship number 1?
Sir, I was wondering.
Captain Christopher Pike is a way out of any cage, and I'll find it. We've lost the captain. This is the captain.
Captain.
Does that make you happy?
Sir?
This is the captain.
Captain.
Engage.
It appears, Magistrate, that the intelligence of the specimen is shockingly limited.
Hey everybody, welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And we're here to talk today about the conclusion of the Menagerie. Dun dun dun. But first, what's going on in Allie Land?
This year, I've decided to join a challenge, the fundraising challenge for the Trevor Project.
Oh, nice.
40 meaningful miles. It runs through December, and it's basically, we do miles, whether it's by walking or biking or running or whatever, to raise money basically for LGBTQ plus young people. The reason that's 40 is because the 40 miles relates back to research showing that having one accepting adult in an LGBTQ young person's life can reduce their risk of suicide by 40%. Yeah. So that's what I'll be doing.
That's amazing. And if I start feeling better, I'll join you.
Hey, we could go. We can hike. We can hike some of those.
Yeah.
miles.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I don't want anyone else to die.
Yeah.
Be it by suicide. I don't want another LGBTQ plus person to die by suicide or by someone else's hand just for being who they are. And I've got too many friends that are, they're suffering, and I don't ever want them to feel bad about who they are, who you are. And I'm sick of all the death and the negativity, and I just want to do something to help.
Yeah. Well, it feels like the right pick, especially coming out of this whole Club Q bullshit that happened. So
for sure,
our community is definitely hurting right now. And the Trevor Project provides all kinds of resources for people in the queer community to reach out for support. So that's a great organization to support. Thank you.
100%.
All right, then. Well, let's jump into our episode today. We're going to talk about Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 13, The Menagerie, Part 2.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu. Yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners? It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
Another flashback episode. I mean, one is enough, but then they got to split it into two. Come on.
Well, and this episode starts with a recap of Part 1.
Oh, yeah.
To catch us up. But it's not like the usual last time on format. Mm-hmm. And I believe this may be the only time in Star Trek ever that they don't do last time on. I think. As we watch, it'll be interesting to kind of hold that in my mind and see if I'm remembering that right. So Kirk opens with a captain's log. It's hard to believe what's happened the past 24 hours. And then we get a clip show. Spock's pleading guilty to each charge. Spock's home videos of his vacation to Talos 4 with Captain Pike. Kirk reads the TV Guide episode summary of Star Trek, the original series pilot, The Cage, and that we learned the clip show is being broadcast from Talos 4 itself.
Straight from the Talosian studios.
We're again reminded that the death penalty is on the line here, and Spock begs Kirk to finish watching his home video. After the theme, we pick up from last week. Spock tells the court-martial that the Telosian keeper has taken over the 8mm projector, and they have no choice but to continue watching the home videos. And we're right back into the clip show.
And then the clip show is like, it starts where, Pike was knocked unconscious and captured by the Telosians. And then they make him relive the battle on Rigel 4 and all of that.
And we cut out for a moment at that part where Pike is forced to fight to protect Vina so that Spock can explain the Telosians' power to the court. And then at the end of that fight sequence, the video stops and we see Pike like slouched over in his chair.
He's tired. It's exhausting him watching that movie. That movie is exhausting, apparently.
Spock tells them that they'll have to reconvene later because the Telosians know that Pike is tired. Like, they care about him, and he says they want him back alive, which is the first I think we've heard now of, like, it actually being spoken that the Telosians are trying to get Pike back or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we finally get maybe an inkling of what this whole ruse was. But I still don't. I have questions. I'll save them for the end because maybe you know this and I just missed it. I don't know.
Well, this may be the shortest episode of Humanist Trek in Humanist Trek history, but we'll...
Because there's so much flashback that it was literally, it took like a lot of, it was like watching the cage all over again because they had so much footage of the cage in here. But yeah.
I don't know how your TV program app is, but on our upstairs TV, when I do my watches for this show in bed, when I fast forward and rewind, it shows like a little thumbnail along the bottom. Of what's actually, where you are in the video.
No, that's cool.
The TV downstairs doesn't do that. And I was watching this one downstairs. I watched the first part upstairs, and I liked that because I could just skip through the cage because I've seen it already.
Right.
And get to the parts but this one I didn't have that. It was annoying.
And I think it's based on the app that you have.
Well, our upstairs TV is it's a smart brand, smart TV, something or other. The downstairs TV, we're using the stupid Xfinity box.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's why it doesn't. Stupid Xfinity. Look, you can wrap Comcast in whatever pretty name you want to wrap it in. It's still Comcast.
It's still a piece of shit. No. Oops. Should I not say that?
They don't sponsor us.
Yeah.
So Commodore Jose demands to know why that the Telosians are trying to get him back, but Spock's like, look, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it anyway. So you're just going to have to wait and see for yourself. And it seems like Spock's really running the show at this point, right? But Jose,
still, even he's on death row trial, and he's still running things. I love Spock.
But Jose reminds him, like, look, buddy, you're the one on trial here.
Am I?
Yeah. After the commercial, we're now 1 hour from Talos 4, and the court-martial convenes. We watch the scenes where the crew tried to blast through the elevator door, and where Pike learns that Vina is a real Earth woman, the sole survivor of a ship that crashed on the planet, and that they're meant to be a breeding pair in this sort of zoo. We rewatch the scene of the Earth illusion with the picnic and the Orion slave girl.
Yeah.
And then we cut back out to the court-martial for a moment for Jose to point out that no human male could resist the Orion woman. They made a much bigger point of the idea that the Telosians meant to breed an entire slave race of humans in this episode than I think I took away from the cage.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that they were meant to, like, be a bonded couple. And yeah, maybe for breeding purposes, but the cage didn't really sell to me the idea of like breeding a race of humans as their end goal.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, they did say that, their intention was benevolent and they would be well taken care of and they'd be happy. But yeah. The view screen presentation continues. Star Trek TV continues. And this is they're at the part where the Telosians beam down number one. and the other yeoman, to give Pike a choice of, who do you want to mate with?
Mhm.
And then the part where their pistols don't work, and then
if it had been Kirk in that position instead of Pike,
we'd take all
Kirk
three.
would have been like, I have to choose.
Oh my.
Why can't I have all
Give
three?
me all of them, right?
Because I have had them all, probably.
Probably.
The pistols don't work. Pike thinks, of course, this is probably an illusion too, and then that's when he uses the weapon to threaten the Telosian crackhead, and then I don't know what I meant by that.
The film shuts down again right after the part where Pike has his hands around the keeper's neck and forces them to reveal that their phasers did work and it did blast a hole through the glass. So then Commodore Jose asks for Pike's verdict since Spock can't get the projector started again.
Yeah, the Telosians seem to they're not responding and they're not showing the movie anymore.
And Spock begs Pike to signal that he wants to wait. And here Kirk picks up on something Spock has said a few times now. It's about Pike's life.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk's like, what life? Send him back to be an animal in a cage again? Cut back to Spock, and he's got a whole film canister unrolled now, and he's all tangled up. It's like wrapped around his arms and his neck. It's like, no, keep watching. But the film still doesn't start again. And then Jose asks for Pike's verdict. Guilty? Yes or no? Pike beeps one longer than usual beep. Guilty.
Yeah, which is, I didn't understand that. So they all found him guilty. But why would Pike say he's guilty?
Right.
Well, because he is. Maybe because he is.
Yeah. Commodore Jose also votes guilty and turns to Kirk, who reluctantly, it seems, also votes guilty as charged.
Guilty of mutiny. But technically, okay, he is guilty.
He is. Yes, for sure. He stole the ship. He went to this planet that they're not allowed to communicate with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of his intentions, he's guilty, for sure. I mean, he said so himself, and he's Spock, for fuck's sake.
Intentions matter, though, I think, in this case.
Yes. In the final act, the bridge calls down to Mendez. We're entering orbit of Talos 4. The Telosians are now in control of the Enterprise, as they were 13 years prior. And Spock says, you've been asking why. You'll see the answer now. So the film starts up again, and we see the finale of The Cage. The crew escapes the tunnels. Pike makes the offer, send back the two women from the Enterprise, provide proof that my ship is safe, and I'll stay with Vina.
Right. And then Majel sets her phaser to
Overload.
Blow up. The Telosians are like, oh no, you'd kill yourself. And then they're like, okay, you're too violent. We don't want you. You would end up destroying us too.
And of course, we learn that Vina isn't young and beautiful, but old, scarred, and wrinkled. So the court-martial watches the end of The Cage, Pike returning to the ship and warping away, having left Vina behind, with her illusion of beauty provided by the Telosians. And Kirk turns to Commodore Jose to suggest perhaps they jumped the gun on Spock's verdict. But Jose disappears.
So guess what? They've been Telosianed. They've been crackheaded or whatever. So Mendez disappears. He was never there. He never got on the shuttle.
That fucked me up.
It did. Then I have lots of questions because I think earlier in the episode, or it was either in part 1, where Pike was asking Vina, what exactly is their reach? How far away can they control someone? Right. And I don't think they answered that. But,
no, I don't think they did
but
either.
apparently fucking light years away.
Far away. Yeah.
For them to put Mendez on a shuttle before they even got there.
I want to rewatch this episode now with that mindset of everything that Mendez says from the shuttle forward is the Telosians making him say the things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And driving the verdict for Spock to be guilty and making him out to be villain.
Yeah.
He's Telosians were totally pushing buttons.
Mm-hmm. We hear the voice of the Keeper speaking to Kirk, telling him that Commodore Mendez was never aboard the Enterprise or the shuttlecraft, all an illusion. In fact, the whole court-martial scenario was designed to stall for time, to keep Kirk busy, to keep him from regaining control of the ship, while Spock returned the Enterprise to Talos. So it was all about just killing some time.
Yeah.
And the Keeper says that Pike can spend the rest of his life on Talos, where he won't be confined to the Dalek chair. His face won't be all melted from the burn injury. Kirk turns to Spock and is like, what the hell, man? You could have come to me and explained this. I would have heard you out. But of course, Spock being Spock, he thought through all the scenarios already.
Trying to be logical and shit.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I couldn't put you in position of facing the death penalty too. So what Spock did was carefully chosen to protect his friend and captain.
And I'm just wondering, so apparently, here's my question. So Spock, I guess, orchestrated this with the Talosians to do this. But, like, how? When did this orchestration happen? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm wondering.
Did they reach out to him? Did he somehow contact the Talosians?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some backstory that we're missing here.
Yeah.
Uhura radios down. She's got a letter from Starbase 11. The real Commodore Mendez says they've decided to waive the whole nobody can return to Talos rule just this once, so no action will be taken against Spock. Did you believe this was a real communication?
I did, but it was out of the blue, and you don't just lift a General Order 7 though. But I did. I didn't doubt it.
My first thought was, yeah, fucking right. Like, these crackhead aliens made a whole fake Commodore Jose appear on the Enterprise. That was fake. Now you want me to believe that this message is real? Like, I'm questioning everything.
That's true. I didn't question that for some reason because I don't know. I don't know, but I did think it was odd and out of the blue that you just, lift the General Order 7 for no reason, just for this occasion.
Maybe like at the end of the episode, once the resolution happens and everybody's happy, then you go back and say, okay, well, since everything worked out, we're going to let Spock off on this one. The timing was off.
Yeah, and there was no communication from Enterprise back to the Starbase 11 saying, hey,
here's what's going on.
Yeah, here's what's going on. It's all a big misunderstanding. So good point. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Kirk asks Pike if he wants to go to Talos, and Pike beeps yes.
Beep!
So Kirk sends Spock off to the transporter room to see Pike off, but before they leave, Kirk says, Spock, when you're done there, you come back and see me. We need to talk about your whole flagrant emotionalism. And Spock's like, whoa, buddy, no need to insult me.
Yeah, don't insult me like that.
Everything I've done has been perfectly logical.
Yep. And like literally no sooner did they walk out of the door did you see Kirk turn to the view screen and you see the Talosians leading Pike, which is actually the old Pike, walking and he's all cured and everything down into the elevator, the rock elevator.
Yep. Walking hand in hand with Vina.
Yeah.
At first I had a question about this because I thought maybe I was misremembering it. Because I didn't remember that happening in the cage.
Yeah, I didn't either. So, I think did they film that? Or maybe it was the scene that they cut?
I thought, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, was this extra footage? And like...
maybe it wasn't.
It would have had to be because they couldn't get Hunter back, right?
Oh, they created an illusion.
Yeah, I went back. I clicked back to the cage to watch the ending because I was I don't remember this. And it was in the cage.
Yep, I think we had both had the same thought.
All right, so let's dig into the themes here. Taking the two-parter in whole, I think it's interesting to consider again the idea that, like, first of all, that there is an alien race that can provide illusions so powerful that disabilities could be removed. And that led me to the ethical question of, like, aren't we supposed to be learning to create a society that better incorporates and includes people with disabilities or different abilities,
right?
Rather than trying to quote correct their problem or quote make them normal. Like, do blind people want to be able to see, or do they just want to be able to exist in a world? But
it's okay for them to be blind,
right? And they live in a world where they live in the world that was created for sighted people, right? Do deaf people wish to hear? Or do they wish to just be able to communicate with everybody?
Right.
So things like that came to mind for me. again.
That's a great observation. Like because we assume like sighted or hearing or non-impaired people, we just assume that people are not happy,
right,
if they can't do what we do. You know, we're the problem.
Right.
So they're not the problem.
For sure.
We're the problem.
So like taking Pike back to Talos seemed like an easy out. Right.
Yeah. No, I think he was in pain. I think like his body was that machine or that wheelchair was actually keeping him alive. He had like a battery powered heart and stuff like that. And
there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So granted, that was keeping him alive, but with all what pisses me off is with all the fucking technology, the only thing they could give him was a chair that beeps yes and no.
Right.
The chair is keeping him alive, but you couldn't give him better communication.
Right.
Come on.
Right. And then there's the whole part about returning to Talos in the first place. Right. Was this Spock's idea? Because it didn't seem clear. It didn't seem like Pike seemed surprised that Spock showed up to take him back to Talos. Right.
Right. And
so if this was Spock's idea, then it's Spock's mentality that is saying, I need to bring my friend to this place that will make him normal again.
Yeah.
Which seemed wrong.
Yeah. And out of character for Vulcan. I mean, from a noble standpoint, it's in character. He's very noble. And I don't know so we don't know if Talos initiated this scheme or did he, because apparently no one knew about Pike's accident. Like, but maybe Spock did. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
there's so many more questions than there are answers, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, though, there's that theme of friendship, right? Like Spock risking everything for his former captain and friend.
Yeah.
So there is that piece of it too.
I mean, I think I get what maybe Gene was going for, but I think he missed a point, like what we're dealing with in today's world with disabled people not being seen. But then maybe I think that was his way of dealing with it back then, and just trying to help him. I also being noble. He's portraying it as like a noble act,
right? And our understanding of that has changed over the years for sure. I also have to think of it through the lens of, oh fuck, we're out of material. We don't have scripts. We need something quick.
Yeah,
and this was quick and easy. And oh shit, we can't get Jeffrey Hunter back. So how do we take an actor and make him look close enough?
We're gonna fuck up his face.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so there's a practical thing to that.
But it's funny how maybe that's how it started, but then that whole storyline is still in existence today with the new Pike and the whole season. That storyline has been carried through. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Yeah. Maybe it started out as, hey, we need a script, but that whole storyline has just been perpetrated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, nobody died again.
Damn.
So we want to take a moment to thank all of our patrons.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay our percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons. You're keeping the lights on around here, and we appreciate you so much. If you're not a patron, please consider becoming one. Patrons get early access to every episode, and we're working on some really cool merch ideas for patrons that can't come to life until there's more of you. So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge as little as $3 a month. It goes a long way to support the production of the show. Of course, we know not everyone has the spare money to give us some spare money, and that's okay too. There are a lot of great ways to help support the show for free. You can leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to Humanist Trek. Share out the episodes on your social media and with your friends. All of those can help us reach even more listeners and would be very much appreciated.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you got to say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
We'll bring Becca back in now for the answer to our question for the Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. Question for the Menagerie Part 2.
There was some gender bending going on in this episode. Can you identify it?
And we said it was the Telosians because they weren't clearly male or female.
You're right.
Yay!
I used the phrase gender bending because it wasn't a clear. The only thing you had really to go on was their voice and appearance, and there wasn't.
It was very sort of androgynous.
Yeah. But they were played by women.
Mm-hmm.
The voice of the Keeper was dubbed by Malachi Thorne, who portrays Commodore Mendez.
Yes.
And they slightly sped up to differentiate the two voices.
Yeah, I did read that one. I thought that was going to be the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Racking up the points now.
Yeah.
We got a streak going on, I think.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, then let's get the question for our next episode, The Conscience of the King.
Dr. McCoy was unprofessional in this episode. Whatever did he do?
Which time? I mean,
he's unprofessional all the time.
Well, you know.
He was having a drink. He sounded like he was drunk. Like when he was having a drink and he was telling Spock, "Hey, you want a drink?" Or he's like, it's been a week since I've had any of a drink of the true," is what he called it. And then he said something about the girl. He said something about the female on there. Like, did you get a look at her or something like that? I mean, that's pretty unprofessional. I don't know. Like, which time? He's always unprofessional. He's always like ragging and saying racist things about Spock. Mm-hmm. He's drinking all the time and he's like derogatory to women. So, I mean, gosh, take your pick. I don't know.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll find out next week. If you want to play along, no cheating, no Googling. Go to your social media app and post your answer using the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick a favorite. All right, next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 14, The Conscience of the King, Kirk suspects Shakespearean actor Anton Caridian as a mass murderer. So join us next week for The Conscience of the King.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Trek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.